District attorney went off the rails. Innocent until proven guilty. Never came out of his mouth. That is outrageous. We are outraged. Before any trial has occurred, he announced the defendant's theory of the case is a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. That is outrageous. We are outraged. He provided a false notice of discovery, claiming he did not know. We now know that was a lie. That is outrageous. We are outraged. This court should be outraged. Everyone should be outraged. That is outrageous. We are outraged. District attorney went off the rails. Innocent until proven guilty. Never came out of his mouth. That is outrageous. We are outraged. He provided a false notice of discovery, claiming he did not know. We now know that was a lie. That is outrageous. We are outraged. This court should be outraged. Everyone should be outraged. That is outrageous. We are outraged. That is outrageous. We are outraged. This court should be outraged. Everyone should be outraged. Outraged. That is outrageous. We are outraged.
Hello, everybody. How are we? Can we hear me today? I did check my sound settings. But let me just double check. We're good. Looks like we're going. Do I have a bubble? I do. Yes, a crazy mixed up court day. Indeed it was. So hello everyone, Debbie Blair, Joanna, Hanky, Honky Brennan spell checker, Kevin the supermod, Joanna, thanks for joining us, Tracy, Jamie, and Quizzy Girl. How are we all? Suitably outraged today, are we? I'm glad you like the outrage song because I do too. There's a couple of out of the whole album, I tried to mix it up a bit for different tastes. But the ones I like the most are, obviously the theme song on the channel, Outrageous, and the one Ajax's closing arguments, I thought was also another good one. Out of, I don't know, what do I do, 2 albums? So yeah, but I'll get around to playing the others eventually over time, I guess. 50-50 for Iris. All right. So today's outrages. Well, I guess we opened with Bev being a bitch again about the ARCCA. Is that what it was about? ARCCA. Oh my God. So the thing about the ARCCA is, let me get my notes out for this. Notes. I got so many notes. ARCCA. Hang on. Finding my ARCCA notes. ARCCA. Oh my God. I got 300 in here about ARCCA. We did a lot of talking about ARCCA. Here we go. All right, double standards in the discovery and punitive measures. So this ABA thing, I'm sure you've all heard Andrea already say this ABA thing that Bev's harping on about does not actually require it's actually for the defendant themselves to be able to get their records from the lawyer, and this isn't a law. It's just it's just ethical to keep the records for your client. It doesn't apply to the judge demanding records that are actually work product material. So we talked about the work product protection yesterday and what the doctrines were that cover the work product, because they're both state and federal covering work product. But the fact that she brought it up again today, and she brings up these work product messages as the reason for demanding their latest testing, that what's the link there? How does this work product test messages relate to her demanding their testing? Like, that's right, Kevin. It's just a guideline. So, but it is a guideline that is adhered to when it comes to clients trying to get their records. So, but there's just no link between the two things that Bev's saying there in court first thing this morning. She says, well, these work product text messages, well, they raised some concern. So now I want all of their testing by the weekend. And the guys have said several times, there is no testing, Bev. They're just responding to the prosecution's expert. They're just adding to their report because the prosecution's added shit to theirs. So there's absolutely no connection between work product text messages and what she's trying to connect them to. So that was my first outrage for today. No connection at all. If we're lucky, Arcane might join us. Glenn Lake, thanks for joining us. Sandra Carudo, Nikki C, Tracy Summers, Vanita Ashton, thank you. Iris, Botched Investigation, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, Arcane may join us. So, Arcane is a first responder. Let me just go to the messages and remember what Arcane said. I'd love to come on a stream one day and talk about the case. Okay, so we had another conversation again in chat where he was saying he's actually a first responder and he'd like to come up and have a yak about being a first responder. And that is my next outrage for the day. Yes, I saw those leakage. I saw that leakage stuff today. We'll come back to the leakage. We'll come back because there was a few of those. There was a few hot mic moments there, wasn't there? Police dash cam. Oh God, we'll come back to that. All right, I want to talk about these bloody videos that they're pulling of Reed's testimony. So people keep arguing on social media and in chats that the media interviews that Karen did are allowed to be used because they came to an agreement about admissibility. They stipulated that, yes, these are admissible. But that doesn't negate the proper way to bring evidence in at trial. Saying we agree it's admissible, we're not going to object to admissibility, is a different thing to how it's actually brought in at trial. So you can have a piece of evidence that's circumstantial which this is, it is circumstantial evidence. You can have a piece of evidence that's circumstantial, but it's somehow, got relevance to something that makes it admissible. But then when you're actually introducing it in front of the jury, you still got to do it the proper way. You're not waiving the proper process. You're just saying, I'm not going to object to admissibility. And people keep arguing that the stipulation to admissibility is equivalent to waiving any rights to being able to cross-examine any witness involved with that evidence being shown to the jury. They're not even putting a witness up. They're just showing it to the jury with no witness to question. And so this is an issue because that's not how you put evidence into court. So what it does is it violates the right to confrontation. They need to have a witness on the stand so that that witness can be questioned. We went through this yesterday in some detail, but I'm doing it again today because people are still arguing for some reason that agreement to admissibility waives all their rights to how it's used in court, and those two don't connect. They don't have any connection at all. Admissibility is one thing. How you put it in front of the jury has its own process, and the defense did not waive that right to that cross-examination, for example, by using Karen's interviews as evidence without having her on the stand or a witness who is the keeper of the records or the person who interviewed her on the stand, then that denies the defense from the ability to challenge the statements. Obviously, they're not going to challenge your own defendant. So the only other choice you have is the person who is interviewing her or the keeper of records from that company. So those are your only choices to bring it in. You cannot have no witness on the stand and just play this shit in court. That's not how it works. What they're trying to do is one of two things. They're either trying to force Karen Reid to testify, because that's the only way to contest what they're putting up on the screen, or they're trying to testify through Karen Reid. So instead of having her on the stand, they're just using these as her testimony. They can't testify through Karen Reid. So Hanky is basically testifying for Karen Reid through her interviews. So this violates due process because due process requires all evidence presented at trial to be subject to proper scrutiny and challenge. There's no witness on the stand, so who are they challenging? If the defense is denied the opportunity to cross-examine the content, then that undermines the fundamental fairness of the trial. There's other aspects of what's going on here. It's impacting the jury. We know that because they're just hearing these cherry-picked half statements. They're not even a full contextual statement, the way that the prosecution is playing them. But the defense hasn't objected to any of this yet. And that makes me feel like they have got a plan. And so I did have a look today about, what are the plans that they might have, like, short of just being plain incompetent counsel, which I very much doubt. We're looking at incompetent counsel here. These guys are all very accomplished at their jobs. They've all been prosecutors and all sorts of things. So I don't think that's what we're looking at here. I think we're looking at a plan. So I'll come back to the plan in a minute because I think I have worked out what the plan probably is. We'll see how it turns out in trial. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying there's got to be a fucking plan. They can't be just they just can't be letting this happen without objecting. The one thing they agreed not to object to was admissibility. That's all they agreed to, not object to admissibility. However, they still have the right to object to how it's being played in court. So the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination means that they can't force Karen onto the stand to testify. If she refuses to testify, she can't be compelled, but the prosecution can't use her statements as her testimony. That's That's different to her testifying. Completely different. That's the prosecution testifying through her, basically. So, moving on, it's coercion and due process. If they do try to force her to testify by using these clippets, the prosecution cannot use an adverse inference. So, and that's exactly what they're doing. Everything that they're putting on the screen is supposed to be having an adverse inference. It's being played out of context. It's not being played in the order that she said it. And there's no context about what she said before or after it to complete the sentences. So, there's that as well. So, but she still has the right to remain silent, even though they are playing the clips in court. So, what I guess I can jump forward to what the plan actually is. So, I think what the plan is to let the prosecution keep feeding their own rope to hang themselves, and at the end, they're allowed to, because there was no witness on the stand to ask any questions to or cross-examine, or even playing the video, the sentence, the other part of the sentence before the snippet that Brennan showed him. If you show the part of the sentence she said before and the part of the sentence she said afterwards at closing arguments, then you get the last say. And I think that's what's going on here. So Brennan's going to be sprinkling these throughout the trial, all the way through the trial, to enforce a adverse inference. But who gets the last say? If the defense saves everything till the last minute, and they're the last say, they're the last ones to speak to the jury before they go to deliberate, they can play the full sentence before and after she said the incriminating part that Brennan played. So I think that's the game plan. I knew there was a game plan. I put a video out a couple of days ago about, I thought there might be Easter eggs in her statements. Like, we'll let you say this, Karen, but if you say that, you need to follow it up with this Easter egg, so that when it comes time to closing arguments, we can include, this Easter egg that's just going to fuck Brennan right up. And that's the last thing that the jury's going to hear, not all of the clips that are played throughout the entire trial, because this is going to be, a couple of months of trial. They're not going to remember all the shit that he played. The last thing they hear is the defense playing the full sentence to give it context. They're allowed to do that. They're not allowed to play the whole video. If you want an explanation on that, Emily D. Baker gives a great explanation of why they can't just play the whole video. It's to do with the opposing party, statements by the opposing party, and there's some technicalities there that I didn't really want to get into, but if you want to hear that side of it, EDB explains it. They just can't play the whole video for those reasons, but it's the Easter Bunny defense, right, Glenn? So basically, I feel that there's no way. First of all, I feel like Karen's got her own head on her shoulders, and that the team was never going to stop her from speaking out anyway. So I kind of got that impression just from her personality so far. But I also feel like that they're all very, very mature and able to reach agreements with each other. And so the defense would have been able to say to her, look, if you really need to say this stuff, we'll let you, but you need to make sure we've got Easter eggs, because everyone knows that Morrissey can't fucking help himself. He's going to go for whatever bait they set for him. If he sees anything that he can use against Karen Reed, he's going to use it, because he's protecting his buddies, obviously. Hi, Garrett Gurdon. Thanks for joining us. Garrett Gruden. I'm just using first names and short stuff because I can't say all your names. Hi, Garrett. Yeah, so everyone knows Morrissey's going to take the bait. So you plant those Easter eggs and off you go. Morrissey takes the baits. He tries to play it in court. He gets the last say. Obviously, the defense gets the last say. And they can play. There's no objections at all, Iris, because they agreed between each other. A stipulation is where they agreed outside of the court without a Judge Bev ruling on anything. They agreed between themselves that they would not object to admissibility. But the thing that's concerning me is they're not objecting to the fact that there's no freaking witness. And the only reason I can think of that they wouldn't be objecting to that and not raising it every time Brennan pulls a clip up when there's no witness on the stand is because they have a plan. The plan to me would have to absolutely be all the way at the end for closing statements. But I don't know, is it? I don't know who it is. No, it's not AOC. It's AI made it for me. So no, they're not allowed. AI is not allowed to replicate real people. So no, it's not AOC. Thank you, Iris. That makes life so much easier. Nikki, thanks for joining us. Colin is in the house. Not Colin. Colin. Yes, Peggy was not very nice. Real nice old bird. But anyway, so that's what I think the plan is there. I've been screaming into the freaking void for 2 days about why is the defense just letting them do this? Until today I found out that, this whole closing argument thing is actually, it even ties Bev's hands. And I'll tell you why. If the defense has agreed to admissibility, then they've agreed to, then the Commonwealth has also agreed in that to context. So admissibility has to involve context. It's not something that just happens in a void. So they're agreeing to the context and the meaning of that evidence and how it's relevant to the case, right? Yes, that is what that's what EDB said, but it's not entirely that. It wasn't. It was a way to keep her off the stand. I got that, but also there's Easter eggs. I'm telling you, there's Easter eggs. Okay, I already know what some of those Easter eggs are. I just don't want to spoil it for you, but there is Easter eggs in there. So I gave an example to someone the other day, and they turned into a beast and got nasty. So I was just like, off you go, child. But I'll try and find the example because I don't know if I can see the example there. Like, I was trying to give an example without giving away what the Easter eggs are, because I don't want to blow their cover before they get there. I find myself having to pull myself up. I want to tell you guys like everything I know. Sometimes I can't do that because I don't want to blow anyone's cover before they get to the punchline. But the idea of doing it in closing statements, saying, all right, this is the half sentence that Brennan played at the start between, I think it was Kerry and between Nuttall and Kerry. This is the half sentence that he played. So in closing, we're going to play the full sentence. So that gives it the context. But what it does is it shows the jury that the cherry picking that was being done throughout the trial is blatantly misleading them. Once they see the entire context of that full sentence, the jury's going to be sitting there going, holy shit, who's doing the tricky crap behind the scenes trying to trick us? It doesn't look like it's the defense. It looks like it's actually the Commonwealth. So all of this path laying that people are getting frustrated with AJ for is because they're not looking at the big picture. There's a big picture here. There's a whole fucking plan all the way to the end, including after the trial. If there's a guilty verdict, there's even another plan after that. That's what Alessi's there for. So there's a big plan. This is not just we get through this trial, we get through each witness, but this is how we treat each witness. This is way beyond that. This is what I find the lawyers are getting themselves all tied up in knots about. That's not how I would have treated that witness or said to that witness or tried to get out of that witness or whatever. People are actually really panicking because the lawyers aren't. The lawyers are saying things that they didn't expect to hear. Um, and I get it because the lawyers have all got their own style and their own, what do you call it? It's not just their own style, strategy. The lawyers have all got their own styles and strategies. And you know, we all know Alan Jackson's a Hollywood lawyer. He's not your regular lawyer, okay? His style and strategy, I'm gonna hazard a guess, has a lot of colors to it, let's say, because he's not a normal lawyer. He's used to high profile cases. Scotty is in the house. How's it going, Scotty? Long time no see, buddy. So yeah, I see a lot of people having little meltdowns around the joint because, you know, the lawyers are saying, oh, AJ's going about this all wrong and blah, 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 blah. But I kind of see where he's going. Because I've been looking at what the strategy is for quite some time now. I didn't have, let's say, I wasn't entirely in love with their strategy last trial, but I got what they were doing. To understand, loving it and understanding it are sometimes two different things, right? I didn't love it, but I got what they were doing. They felt like they have, my brain's not connected to my mouth. My brain knows what it's thinking, but it's not connected to my mouth right now. They felt that throughout the trial, they had nailed every single witness. Like they played that whole trial out like they were prosecution. And so when it came to closing, they kind of felt like we've got it in a bag. We don't need to do anything else. Just prove that that accident couldn't have happened. Everything else we've already nailed through cross. So that's where they were coming from with how they closed out the last trial. Now, I do believe that I do believe that they learned a lesson from that they didn't have it in a bag, and that things were not quite as wrapped up as they thought they were. So what I'm seeing now is I see him coming out the gate swinging. I don't see him holding back on nothing. I see them swinging straight out the gate, swinging. They didn't give Nuttall a much of a hard time, except that, you know, he cut a puffy jacket off that didn't exist. But they didn't give him too much of a hard time compared to the others that they were all focused on being involved in this small circle. That I see him come out swinging straight up with Nuttall just swinging hard. So that tells me they're already on a different path. They're not just going to prosecute these guys through the testimonies. They are going to bring us some follow-up in their own case in chief this time, which is great. So I feel a little bit better about, you know, the way things are going. But people are still panicking because the lawyers are still giving commentary that is, you know, oh, I don't love that part of what they're arguing there, and oh, I don't love that, and oh, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone, obviously. Some lawyers are all in, and friends with the lawyers who are defending Karen. So obviously Melanie Little's an all in, you know what I mean? But not a lot of the other lawyers are. They're still trying to give the commentary like commentary is, you know what I mean? But anyway, so I have shit, I forgot to tell, hang on. I promised someone yesterday that I would let them know when we're going live, and I forgot to tell her. Don't. But we are there. Where was I? Okay, so some of the panics that we had, I'm just going back through messages, people sending me messages like freaking out about shit. uh, da, 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 da. The two main hurdles. Oh, okay, so Kerry, oh, a lot of the lawyers weren't entirely happy with the way the Kerry testimony went down, but holy henna, when you realize what they actually did there. I mean, it might not be obvious what they did there, but they did it. There was originally in the last trial, there was three people who said Karen and Jen and Kerry all got into the cruiser together, and Karen told Jen to Google house long to die in the cold, right? That was the story last trial. So Kerry backed up Jen on that. So those two were saying it. And I believe the cruiser, I forget who owns that cruiser that they jumped into too. I forget the number of the cruiser. Let me just have a look here. Oh yeah, I don't even have those numbers up on the screen either. I forget who was the last person to arrive at the scene. Was it Good? Or was it... There was another one. I forget who the last person was to arrive at the scene. And I could waste a bunch of time finding it, but we'll just let the chat fill in that blank because I know the chat knows. The last person to turn up at the scene, that's the cruiser that Kerry and Jen said they got into with Karen when she was asked to Google house long to die in the cold. Whoever drives that cruiser was the other witness that said, yeah, they all got in my car, or they all got in my cruiser. 682, yeah, but who was driving it? Annette? Hi, by the way. And hello to Blackbird and Podge. Who else has dropped in? Cheryl with an S, how's it going? Sandra. Michelle, oh my God, my favorite Aussie. How's it going, girl? Without a lawyer, this time they have Hank whinging every day about ARCCA. Yes, thanks for joining us without a lawyer. Erica, hello. Sammy, Skook. Is that how you say it? Skook. Who else have I missed? All right, I got you all. Hang on. Mum Tonoli. Hello, Tracy. How's it going? Or I might have already said hello to Tracy, but hello again. Christina, don't know if I got you, but hello again. All right, so yes, it could have been 682. I can't remember. You guys know that the last person that got there. So it goes Saraf, Marlon, Good. So you reckon Good was last? I think Good was last. So whoever it was, they arrived at 6:24, right? But at 6:23 is the first time that Jen made that Google search, and then at 6:24, right? She did it several times. I think she did it like 4 or 5 times. I forget how many times she done it, but she done it multiple times. But she started doing it at 6:23, according to her records, where she started trying to cover shit up. So, Good doesn't arrive until 6:24, and it's 6:24:40 something, which is well after she's already done her search, and they're supposed to be in his car. So, two things happened today. We got to see that footage, like where they went off screen and they were going to claim that they were all sitting in Good's car. We got to see that footage today, that there was this opportunity for him to make this claim. So we got to see that footage today, which I've got racked up here if you want to watch it. But the thing that AJ did very cleanly was he left Jen out in the cold with that story that they were in Good's car searching house long, because Kerry retracted it today. So without Kerry backing her up on that, Jen's out in the cold. She's all by herself with that, right? So Jen is now the only person left saying Karen told her to Google house long at 6:24 a.m. It's just her word against Karen's now. So it seemed a little more convincing when several people were backing it up, but I think it's now less convincing because now it's only Jen saying it. And we're also got out of Kerry through AJ. AJ's such a fucking legend. He's also got out of Kerry that Jen was driving this bus. Like Jen, decided everyone had to get together because Peggy said so. Jen and her, colluded in getting their timeline together. Um, all that sort of stuff. Basically, Kerry sort of confirmed multiple times today that Jen was driving that bus. So I got to give AJ all the credit for doing that today. So you might not see it today in Kerry's testimony. You might not have buried Kerry as well as you wanted to bury her in the earth. Everybody wanted her buried, right? But they got what they needed out of her. And I feel like she's one of the sympathetic witnesses. If they buried Kerry like we wanted them to, the jury probably wasn't going to take that all that well. So I kind of like the idea that they did what they did. They pushed her so far to tie Jen up later, and that's it. Then they let her go. So I love it. Love AJ's work. I love how he works. I love his thinking. I get where he's going. And like you guys, I wanted to see that bitch buried. I cannot lie. I did. But at the same time, I get where he's going. It goes back to what I said about last shot. I didn't love it, but I get it. Bite my bits. I'll say it the right way. How's it going? Anyone notice how Jen and Kerry saw Karen wake up the husbands via the other end of the phone? Not sure what you mean. You're gonna have to give us some extra explanation there. I'm not following. Fill us in a bit more. So yeah. You don't believe, Nikki says, I don't believe Peggy O'Keefe said to make a timeline. I just don't see that. I don't see her being all that smart. You know what? I see Peggy saying, you girls just sit together and cook up what you gotta. She probably did something like that. There's a lot of things that Peggy said that I don't believe were true. There's no way that nurse told Peggy that Karen was in a psychiatric hold. There's no way. So what was just for me? Hang on, wait, I missed something. That was just for me. What did I miss, sweetie? I missed it. Supermod Kiwi, you've earned the title. He has, hasn't he? Michelle, I don't know what you're talking about. But thank you. Whatever it was, thank you. Garino's coming back, so don't get too excited about Garino being done yet. He's not done. He's coming back. So what I got from listening to Brennan's diatribe, I know people switch off when they hear Brennan crying to Bev, right? But the point of not switching off is you hear these little nuggets. And one of the nuggets he dropped was that he's not going to be doing this in the way Lally did it. Okay, Lally he was all over the fucking shop. He had a crying witness, and then he had a freaking lab witness, and then he had a something else witness, and then there was no time order, there was no nothing to Lally's freaking. It was just confuse the crap out of the jury as hard as possible, I think. But what Brennan's going to do, like Notice how he's doing between witnesses. He's playing a little bit of a clip between each witness. That's what he's going to do with Greeno. So Greeno will be back. He's gonna have. So today, all he testified to, which was really bad for them. I'm coming to that. Today, all he testified today to was the validity, the authenticity of the files of some of the phones, and I think it was Jen, Karen, John, and Kerry, I think, if I remember correctly. So that's all he was there to do today, was just to say these phone clones were authentic, and this is how we authenticated them. But what he also did was he also set himself up for Brady violations, like right there on the stand in the middle of frickin' trial. Because the way Guarino has verified that this data came from those phones, he's not handed that over to defense. He's not given them the verification files, the hash values and the plist file and the shit that they need to verify that the files they got were authentic or copies of originals. So basically just stood there on the freaking stand and said, Brady, 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 because the defense doesn't have any of that shit. He's admitting they had it. They've been saying all along, we don't have any chain of custody for this shit. Bev has ruled against the defense getting any of this chain of custody because she believed it didn't exist. Now he's on the stand saying it exists. All of it exists. So to me, it depends how much he verifies. If he does that same thing for other data, like we already know that his verification of Karen's phone was never given to the defense. We know that because all her GPS data got deleted. So we know that the copy defense got was not authentic. But they also didn't give her the authentication files to prove that these are not authentic. So by saying, yeah, I did Karen's phone today, he's admitting to withholding evidence from the defense. He did it on the freaking stand. So he's done the same thing with John's phone. They curated the data that they picked from John's phone, trying to prove he didn't go in the house, apart from one brief ping where John was in the house. But that's curated. That's not the original data from his phone. So then they give the curated data to the defense, but they don't give them any way to verify that this data is the original authentic data. So he's basically just stood up there today and admitted to Brady violations, essentially. And even after the judge has ruled that the defense can't have that data. So the phones have no ownership log. Exactly. They do, but that's what he stood up there and said today, Colin. They do have ownership logs. They have all of that stuff. They just didn't give it to the defense so they could authenticate. So that's a Brady violation. They sat there on the freaking stand and admitted to Brady violations. Yeah, we've got all this stuff. We've got the original files. We've got the hash values. We've got the plist files that you use to unlock the zip files with. We've got all that, but we didn't give it to the defense. So, seems to me like they kind of buried themselves today in that shit. But back to the question that was asked, is Guarino coming back? Yes, 100% Guarino's coming back. So today, what he authenticated today was it might have been only 3 phones. Now someone in chat saying it. So today he authenticated, so it must have been Kerry, Karen, and John's phones. So that's what's coming up next, obviously, in the trial. Data from those 3 phones will be next. And I think that's why Bev pulled him up several times, pulled up, who was it? AJ in Kerry's Cross. I think Bev pulled him up a few times because Hank still hadn't got Greeno on the stand to authenticate her phone logs. So I kind of feel like she's coming back too. I feel like they're not done with her either yet. So also, yeah, exactly, Iris. Everyone was saying that in chat. Greeno knows how to operate the software, but that's it. His knowledge is only how to use the software. He doesn't have anything else. He's got nothing. so, so, what was the next thing I wanted to talk about? Bev doesn't care. That's right. She doesn't care about the evidence. You're exactly right. She's tripping over the admin text messages, which, by the way, aren't required by any authority. Precisely, bite my bits. We did just discuss that at the start, but I think you came in just after it. So, what's Scotty got to say here? Trooper Green, Nicholas Greeno, an unsung villain in several cases. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what else did I miss here? Sorry, guys, I'm scrolling back. Going back to the timeline, if Paul O'Keefe said to make one, Peggy O'Keefe said to make one, and was of sinister mind, someone would have to remain friends with Karen to get those details. So that's BS. Yeah, I follow what you're saying there. Yes, there is going to be a lot of cherry pick data here. But that's what Greener has just screwed himself on, essentially. He's got up there and admitted to Brady violations. So they're talking about Jen and Kerry's phones. Yes, and John's. John's was the one that was the PDF put on the screen specifically today. So, yes. And I like your thumbnail, by the way. I saw your profile picture. So yeah, that's that. Can they put Proctor on the stand even if he's been fired? Yes, absolutely they can and will. And if the prosecution doesn't, the defense will. Yep. It's 2 years back. Okay, so obviously I have to explain it all over again. What Bev's chucking a spaz about is work product, and she has no right to be demanding work product. She's got no right to do it. She's using it as a punishment that she's already punished the guys for the same Rule 14 violations last time the same guys testified. She punished them by making them come in early. They had to spend an extra day in town to do their voir dire. So she's punished them, the ARCCA guys themselves, pulled them away from their jobs and their families an extra day to punish them. She's also punished the defense back in trial 1.0. That's what the voir dire was. Since you have broken these Rule 14 violations, we're going to make you do the voir dire. What that gives is the prosecution like what they're not supposed to have. They would have it if we were in a civil trial. That's deposition. It gives a prosecution two bites at the apple. They get to depose them first and then put them on the stand and cross them. So they're getting a free deposition, basically, that's only generally available in a civil trial. So Beb's already harassed the ARCA witnesses by making them put them on the stand. The defense paid them. So now because she made them do that and defense had to pay for them, now she's punishing them because they paid them for the fucking thing that she ordered them to do. So it came to $24,000. So if you split that into, it was $12,000 each. That's all of their airfares and their time for 2 days, because remember, Bev wanted them in a day early to testify, to do voir dire. So the defense pays for it. And as I said, then she uses the defense paying for her fucking to meet her fucking order. She's now saying that them paying for them to come in and do what she ordered is now a violation, and she's going to punish them again. That's what the whole I have grave concerns was about. Them paying the bill for what she fucking ordered. So anyway, I'm probably gonna be swearing my head off because it is event stream. Event stream. Sorry to anybody out there who's not enjoying my swearing, but it is event stream and the warning's on the label. Hey Britt, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. All right, so where are we? Did I explain it to you as well enough? She's using these texts as a pretext to now punish him again. It's information that nobody's got the right to, not the judge or the prosecution have a right to their work product. Any conversations they had with their experts, doesn't matter who hired them originally, but any conversations they had with them is work product, and nobody's got any right to access the work product. The defendant, Karen Reed, has to have access to those texts going, into, I don't know, 5 to 7 years. But that's it. Nobody else does, just the defendant. Bev's using that as a pretext to say they have to have all their testing done by the weekend. Testing that the guys have just finished telling her over and over again for the past fucking 3 months, there is no more testing. All they're doing is adding to their reports because they're responding to the Commonwealth's expert. So I don't think there is any more testing. So, I don't know where fucking Brennan gets this idea. Brennan's just running with get these ARCCA guys out of the picture. And Bev obviously doesn't want them in either. They all got their asses on the line. Bev's ass on the line because she's put herself on the line by saying, that Trooper, what's his fucking name? Trooper Fanning can be part of court security to protect the jurors. And then Fanning comes in and tells her a fucking story and she dismisses a juror on the basis of it. She put her own ass on the line there. Nonetheless, as far as the feds go, her ass is on the line. No matter how it got there, she can deny it all she wants. Her ass is on the line. Morrissey's ass is on the line. There's no way the feds were investigating because Morrissey's a fucking saint. Because Morrissey is a saint. So his ass is on the line. Everyone's fucking asses are on the line. That's right, Glenn. They are kryptonite to all of them. So who is their oversight board? Okay. Every level of government has oversight. That one level above them that keeps them all in check. Who's the checks and balances for Bev and D.A. Morrissey? Think about it hard now. Who's their checks and balances? Have a guess. It's the DOJ. That's who their checks and balances are. So all this panicking about ARCCA is because it was DOJ that hired them. That's what all the panicking is about. Bev wants their info so she can get her ass off the line. Morrissey wants their info so he can get his ass off the line. Everybody wants to know to what extent their asses are on the line and how to get their asses off the line. That's all this is about. It has nothing to do with ARCCA being, good at destroying the fucking Rentschler. Yeah. There's nothing to do with that. This is all, that's what it looks like to all of us, but that's not what it's to do with. It's to do with Bev and Morrissey need to know what the fucking DOJ knows about them and their fucking activities. That's what it's about. They think they can get it from ARCCA. They think that they can leverage the ARCCA guys and treat them like shit and somehow lure the DOJ into giving them information by doing what they're doing to ARCCA guys. Do you get what I'm saying? They're like leveraging the ARCCA guys for info from the DOJ. That's what they're trying to do. And it's got nothing to do with them being, so powerful and putting Rentschler in his place. It's really just getting their own asses off the line. Alessi saying Morrissey gets to auto delete. Exactly, bite my bitch. You get all these little nuggets in between that put the story together for you. That's exactly what that was about. Alessi's doing two things there. He's telling Bev, like, you've got two sets of standards. He's getting it on the record that she's being biased. So that's his first reason for saying that. But he's also telling us, here's a nugget. Here's an Easter egg, guys. This is about Morrissey. This isn't about ARCCA. Can the defense ask for and receive all communication from the prosecution expert? Well, technically, the prosecution can't ask the defense for all of these communications. Technically, no, because the law says it's work product. So, no, the defense can't ask for it from the prosecution because it's the law. Is Bev going to do that evenly? Obviously not. Just as she's not doing it evenly with Morrissey's text, for example. She's not playing that evenly, right? Morrissey gets to auto delete, but these guys on their own phones for their work product don't get to auto delete. Yeah, that's not how it works. So, Rafferty's retirement. Yes, we talked about that yesterday. Sorry, Dove, but thanks for raising it. For those who didn't know, she's retired. So, I'm sure she retired with a lol at the end. It's about the Bettero letters. Kind of, yeah, it does relate back to the Bettero letters, but the Bettero letters exposed Morrissey for getting up to shit, essentially. And that's extra interest for the DOJ because they are who? They're the oversight for these guys. So it's extra meat on the ham for them. So yeah, Bev's pretty mad because obviously she's involved in those messages. Morrissey's pretty fucking mad because obviously he's involved in those messages. Morrissey was already mad because he already had the feds on his ass investigating his office. So yeah, wow. And they are so much smarter. I don't know, like I don't like doing it like a game because it's not a game. Someone's life is on the line, but they are definitely moves ahead. So, but it's not a game. So, I'm glad Rafferty. Everyone's glad to see the arse end of her. Like, it's a shame that people of Massachusetts are paying her to see the arse end of her. I think that's a crying shame because she doesn't deserve it, and the people of Massachusetts don't deserve it. So, messages from the meatball, extra meatball on the ham. You guys are going off today. Erin H. I went to school to be a paralegal. Bev is making shit up. I know she is. Abso-freaking-lutely. I know she is. And it's not because I went to school to be paralegal. I mean, I did study commercial law at uni because that was part of my degree, one of the units in my degree, but I didn't do, the type of stuff that you do that you would have learned as a paralegal, Erin, but I did learn how to read case law and how to match case law to cases that you're representing and all that sort of jazz. So, we're still not going to change that. No, we're not. It's going to be an email or a depot or something that will flush stuff out. Right. It's pretty serious. And I think it's DOJ who's going to end up getting their hands on all of this stuff. I don't think it's going to end up being either of these defense teams, like Bettero or Karen's team. Dave, thanks for joining us. KLP, how's it going? Thanks for cruising by. They're way too smart, exactly. So let me have a look back at my notes. Can you answer that? It makes me scream too. Oh, let's talk about the medical shit. That's in my notes. Let's go to that. So after I finished talking with not Haley yesterday, or Jason, I went and looked into some stuff about medical negligence, because it occurred to me that old mate on the stand, Nutter. Let me find Nutter. Find Nutter. Let's go through Nuttall. Oh, hang on. Let me go. Okay, malpractice. Let's talk about malpractice. So there's certain things that the EMSs have to stick by. Now, you heard Nuttall give his entire whole resume yesterday when Brennan put him on the stand, right? He's done every fucking course in every fucking planet, right? Well, here's the thing. What he admitted to on the stand was that Karen saying I hit him had nothing to do with his duty to provide care to John O'Keefe. And I've got a problem with that, because it's supposed to have everything to do with it. All right? What did she hit him with? Did she hit him with a fucking BB gun? Is that what she hit him with? Like, if you're firing a BB gun across the lawn, you accidentally whack someone up the ass with it. That's hitting them, isn't it? Did she shoot him with a BB gun? Is he laying there dying of lead poisoning? Did she whack him over the head with a bat? That's hitting him. I hit him. Is that what she did? So are they treating just this head injury? Are they? No, I'm good, Norman. I've just got a little hay fever, which has been bugging me all freaking summer. There's 2 trees growing beside my house that have come to maturity, and they're fully flowering now, and they've been getting worse every year. So they were young trees when I moved in, so they never affected me before, but now they're older trees and they're fully flowering, so nearly all summer. So anyway, so Nuttall's actually said, I neglected my duty to provide care, because when she told me I hit him, it didn't mean anything to me, and I didn't need that information to treat John O'Keefe. Right, she could have hit him with a hand or a purse. Thank you for hang on, I missed him. Who was it? Let me come back to them. I was on the other page looking at my notes. Michelle! Thank you, doll. My favorite Aussie. Thanks for the memberships. Right, she could have punched him. Every single method of hitting him that we've said would require a different sort of treatment. If she hit him with her purse, that doesn't explain why he's laying there dead on the sidewalk, right? Unless, she's got a horseshoe in a purse, I guess. If she hit him with a hand, doesn't explain the injuries. If she hit him with a BB gun, he's laying there dying of lead poisoning. Giving him CPR isn't going to help. He's dying of lead poisoning. So he actually admitted neglect on the stand, as far as, I hate him. Exactly. Like, everyone keeps thinking that Kerry Roberts' name is Carrie because that's the accent. It sounds like they're saying Carrie, and the what do you call it? The closed captions keep putting Carrie on the screen, but her name's not Carrie. So did she say I hit him or I hate him? So absolutely. But anyway, if he's saying she said Karen Reed told me I hit him, and then Hank Brennan says did that mean anything to you, or did that change anything for you? He said, no, changes nothing. It meant nothing. It changed nothing. That's fucking neglect. That's medical neglect. With an ice cube, apparently. So I looked into medical neglect today just to see, what's involved with that. So the primary duty of an EMT is to provide care to anyone who's injured or ill and requires medical attention. This duty is a legal obligation under the Good Samaritan law in Massachusetts, which protects EMTs from liability while providing emergency medical assistance. Assessment and treatment. EMTs must provide appropriate medical care based on the standard of care for their level of certification. They are required to assess the patient's condition, determine the necessary treatment, and deliver that care within their capabilities and training. Emergency response. When responding to an emergency, EMTs must act promptly and effectively. They are legally required to provide care within the scope of their practice as defined by Massachusetts EMS regulations. Duty to act within the scope of practice. And duty to follow protocols and report accurately. Duty to protect patient privacy, HIPAA. Someone's on X right now trying to tell me HIPAA doesn't exist. Don't know what they're talking about. It's probably because someone went PPA and not PAA. I don't know. I just called him Bobby because he said not to call him Bobby. But anyway, duty to act in the best interests of the patient. Duty to recognize and report abuse in domestic violence situations. So even if it was just like she hit him with a purse, they still had a duty to report that. Duty to maintain professional conduct. So all of these duties and responsibilities fall under specific guidelines. So sources for EMT duties in Massachusetts are Chapter 111C, Emergency Medical Services. This section of Massachusetts laws covers the regulation and responsibility of emergency medical technicians, EMTs in Massachusetts. It outlines the duties of EMTs in emergency situations, including responding to emergencies, providing treatment, and transporting patients. So that covers section A, 1A, B, and C. It's also section 8, outlines the requirements for documentation of treatment, which includes patient care reports that are essentially legal records and specifically for investigations. So Massachusetts Department of Public Health, DPH, governs the EMS system and sets standards for the training, licensing, and scope of practice for EMTs. The Massachusetts Regulations for Emergency Medical Services 105 CMR sets the legal framework for how EMTs should act in various emergency situations. It defines the scope of practice, outlines their training standards and assessment protocols, treatment procedures, and duties, and their duty to care. Scene safety, medical care, evidence preservation, and documentation. The National EMS Standards and Protocols covers all the same shit. Scope of practice model. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is NHTSA. You guys all know what that is. This model outlines the competencies and minimum standards for EMTs across the United States. So benchmarks and practices, standard operating procedure, patient care assessment. So then you've got the Good Samaritan law, which we just talked about. You've got HIPAA regulation, which protects people's information. You've got a National Registry of Emergency Medical Technical Standards. No, Medical Technicians Standards. I'll get it right eventually. NREMT provides national certification and training and guidelines for EMTs. The standards they set align with state regulations and ensure that EMTs across the country have the required knowledge and skills to meet the demands of pre-hospital emergency care. The NREMT Code of Ethics emphasizes professional behavior, patient advocacy, meaning EMTs must always act in the best interest of the patient while following medical protocols and ethical guidelines. And then there's the Massachusetts EMS Advisory Board. So all of those bodies govern all of the responsibilities that Trooper Nutbag, I don't know, what are we calling him? Can we come to an agreement what we're going to call him? Is Nutbag good? Type 1 in the chat if Nutbag's the one. Nutsack. So at the end of the day, Nikki, it does vary from state to state, but there are national standards. There are national standards that each state has to meet before they can add their own standards to it. That's the point here, which is also another point I was trying to make yesterday when we were talking about the federal rules. Each state's got their own rules, that's true, but those rules are under federal. So the federal rules come first, and then the state can add to that for their particular state. And it's the same thing here. So the federal bodies are the main doctrines, and then each state can add to that whatever they want for their state. So you still can't ignore the federal doctrine, because remember, you've got a supremacy clause. Right? The federal rule is the law of the land. Don't forget the supremacy clause. People like to go, oh, Massachusetts doesn't have to follow the national standards. They do. They absolutely do, because you actually do have in your constitution a supremacy clause that says the federal law is the law of the land. All right, 2 words, dolt. I work in an ER, and I cannot imagine yelling out to someone why a patient is there, especially if it is for a cycle. That is crazy. Right. Can you imagine saying to the patient's loved one, you don't care what happened to them, you're just going to treat them, get out the way, shut up, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to treat them? Like, that's pretty much what Nuttall testified to. Don't care. Utterly nuttily. No, hang on, no Nuttall, no new Nuttall. EMT nutcase. No nuts. I love it. No nuts. You guys are on fire. Not at all. All right, we certainly didn't come to a consensus there. As good as they were, we did not come to a consensus. So we might just go with nutsack, shall we? Compope says Nuttall was a nutter, though. He was, right? Let's be real. He was talking to himself on the stand. He's doing weird shit on the stand. The people were like, he pulled on his collar and then he put something in his mouth or took something out of his mouth. I don't know which, but it really did look like that. Like, I'm not going to do a conspiracy story with it, but it did look like that, didn't it? And he was talking to himself. So, numbnuts. Totally Australian, numbnuts. Deflated nutsack. Come on, guys. I was asking for consensus. Oh my god, you're cracking me up. Nut and Nuttall. Come on, Glenn, where are you? Or has he already left us? I haven't seen a comment for a while, so he's probably already left us. He's usually pretty good with these bloody little one-liners, so... Did you see his hot? I did see his hot under the collar move. Too much fun playing with all the nuts. Right. So this is another interesting point. Nuttall said that they had trouble getting his clothes off because his hands were stiff. Well, that's interesting because his clothes were cut from the wrist all the way up to the chest. So, what did they have trouble doing again? So I feel like Nuttall is so full of shit. I just didn't believe anything that came out of his mouth because none of it was consistent. You know, we saw the clothes, they were cut. How did they have trouble getting shit off? Nutball. Zach Nuts. What's his first name? Timothy. What is Tim the Toolman's? What's the Tim the Toolman Taylor's saying? I've forgotten it already. I don't think so, Tim. Isn't that it? God, that hurt my brain. British slang for right. Crazy person, psychotic. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. But the issue you would have in a case of medical negligence is Karen's not a family member of John's. So I know that American law has it so that only family members could sue for medical negligence if that person is dead and can't do it themselves. That only a family member or the estate could. But I was looking into de facto partners and like how full-time de facto partner you would have to be to have standing to sue someone over it. So standing to sue in malpractice cases refers to the legal right of a party to bring a lawsuit, and in most cases only the person directly injured, the patient or victim, or the legal representative, such as family members or legal heirs, has standing to file a malpractice claim. But for a de facto relationship, they generally would need to establish a legal relationship to the victim, such as a common law marriage, if recognised, a de facto marriage, where a de facto relationship where she's living there and contributing to financially to the expenses and the lifestyle that they're living and whatnot, and the care of the children and so on. So in that regard, she actually could have standing. It would still have to be put before a judge before anyone could say to any degree of what standing she might have. But the fact that she has lost so much money on these false allegations over the malpractice of the EMTs, not just in failing to hear her, not just in failing to on the stand saying that they're negligent in responding to the "I hit him," but also in helping to set her up because we know she didn't say that. So there's also that side of it. So when you take that side of it into account, she's going to be more standing to sue, not just as a de facto partner, as a partner, but because it's cost her so much: the false allegations, the emotional turmoil, the economic impact. She's lost a job, the false allegations that go with it. So, so I did look into that very deeply yesterday and found that she probably could have a case as a de facto and as a carer of the children when John was at work. She was the one doing the caring. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It doesn't mean she has to. It's just an avenue I was looking into because Null literally sat there on the stand and said, I neglected the patient. If she said I hit him, then he neglected taking that into account and treating the patient. So if he had her as his emergency contact could be argued. Right, that's another situation as well, if he did, or if she was heir to any of his life insurance policies or, you know, anything like that. That's also other situations. But she doesn't need to be an emergency contact. She doesn't need to have what a marriage would have. She can just be one of the primary carers along with him and one of the primary financial contributors to the household as well as him. That can also be taken into account. So to what degree, I don't know. It would still have to go in front of a judge, but and she has way more, right? She can sue every fucking man and his dog in this whole case. But I just hadn't considered the medical angle before. I know the hospital did the wrong thing by they did totally the wrong thing by her as well. I have doubts that any nurse told Peggy that Karen was there being treated under a psych hold. I very much doubt that was the case, but I do know from studying very deeply the BAC extrapolation, they didn't have a warrant for that. They took it from her health blood tests, not specifically for alcohol. So they used a serum, which has a serum. Either way that they do it in the hospital for your health concerns, it's all the fluid is evaporated off of it, so it's highly concentrated. So we show a higher concentration. I think it was like 25% higher, 25 to 30% higher concentration level than is actually existent in blood with all the water not evaporated, essentially. So plus the hospital gave it to the police without a warrant, without a permission, I think is the case. So I didn't hear a lot mentioned about it, but I feel like there has been something mentioned in motions. Someone can correct me with that, but I'm pretty sure it has. So the hospital's responsible for shit like that. There's also mentally scarring. The gowns are called Johnnies. I didn't know that that's what they were. I had to Google that one. We don't call them Johnnies here. We just call them. Actually, we've got a couple of nicknames for them, but otherwise they're just nightgowns, really. But we do have a couple of nicknames for them, and I'm sure Michelle's going to pipe up with them because I can't think of the nicknames that we have for them here right now. um, so there's also the police department and the town itself. She can sue them for not investigating properly. I mean, there's just so many different avenues where she can sue. There's just too many of them to even list. So someone said on X, Mrs. O'Keefe, please tell this court that you took John to court to fight over the kids and he wasn't speaking to you when he passed. Wow. Interesting. There's a couple of people that actually know them on X talking about these things, so it is interesting. Hey, you know who else piped up on X just recently? Oh, hang on. Let me find it for you. I'll try and put it on the screen. Juror. Yes. Let me put this on the screen for people who are not on X. Oops. Radio. Look who's talking. Look who it is, guys. I didn't believe it at first, but then Jess came up and said, yep, that's her. And I think Aiden also said, yep, that's her. So we do have some confirmation. I was waiting for confirmation before I said anything, actually. So almost a year ago today, I was agonizing over what to wear, worrying about what to do when I had to pee 12 times a day, wondering if I could stash snacks in my pockets and hoping they wouldn't skip lunch. And I had no idea what to expect then. And while the majority of this is a moot point, the night before anxiety is the same. It's wild to comprehend. This is really happening again. Free Karen Reed. We ain't got no quit. That's a juror who's decided to look into this since then. So I just call them hospital gowns too, Michelle. But I'm sure that we've got nicknames for them. The guys here have got nicknames for them. If I ask one of the boys, like the landlord or whatever, they'd tell you that they've got a nickname for it. Because it's rather embarrassing, having your butt hanging out. I just forget the name of it. Anyway, so yeah, hang on, where's the rest of it? Oh, she's only got one post. Hang on. It must be in replies. Hang on. She's only got the one post because she's not ready to come out yet. She's I think she was worried about being attacked, but not by us. So she's doing comments to things like, "Is this guy? There's his collar action." um, Is this really juror number 3? We did get confirmation. Jess Machado ended up confirming for us. So, as if you weren't already a hero. But yeah, she's replying to a lot of comments. She's getting right into the case. She's looking at pre-trial 1.0, like what she wasn't told during 1.0. I had doubts when I crawled underneath Alexis and saw no scratches anywhere, including the gas tank or exhaust pipe, both of which are pretty low to the ground. She literally climbed under Karen's Lexus in her heels. So, a lot of the jurors were did have their thinking caps on. Maybe not the jurors that have, just come out and said shit so far. But some of them have. She's enjoying Goat Boy's parodies and impersonations, which is good. She's got a lot of great things to say about Victoria, and she's still friends with Victoria, like made very good friends with Victoria, still very close to Victoria. So that was awesome to learn. Yeah, see, Victoria is a strong and amazing person. She's a brilliant lawyer, a wife, and a mum, and a loyal friend, and I'm so incredibly proud of her. So, but yeah, interesting, right? That we've got another juror that's coming forward, but she's doing it, tiptoey. She's not just coming out like bow tie dude is. What's his name? Can't even think of his name. But she's coming out slowly and sharing bits and pieces. So I promise to have an exclusive on that when she starts telling the story, like the whole story. So, the mashups. No worries, Corn Pope. My pleasure. The mashups, the mashups, the mashups. Well, I like to keep you guys on the edge of your seats waiting. You know that, don't you? But also, we have lawyers who've got jobs. They got day jobs. They don't necessarily get to watch the trial at the same time as us. So they don't necessarily do their commentary straight away. Sometimes we get their commentary a couple of days later when they've got time. They're sitting around for an evening and they can summarize, the main bits. So essentially, once I've got at least 9 lawyers, 8 or 9 lawyers, we've got 8 on my Brady Bunch thumbnail now, so it's got to be 8 at the minimum giving commentary. Then I'll plug a mashup together. So, but it's not always timely that the lawyers can get to doing their own commentary, and I do like to mix it up. So once I've covered one set of lawyers, I want a different set for the next mashup, different lawyers in the next mashup, just to keep it fresh for you guys, with different opinions. So it's not easy to get 9 at once and then the following week another 9 who are all completely different. So that's great. Whoops, that's great, you guys. Awesome. I'm so glad that's how you found me. Peg said today, no island in One Meadows, but photos from 2017 show an island. Possibly did remodel. He possibly did. Possibly did. So, all right, so what have we covered so far? I've forgotten. Let me go back to my notes and make sure we've gone through everything. So many things piss me off today. But not as much as yesterday. Like, I had a considerably less pissed off today. We covered that. Defense using all those clips in closing. We get the full context in closing. It'll be the last thing the jury hears. I'm loving that as a plan. Judges, the judge can't rule anything admissible on those clips if the defense wants to use it. She can't go, oh no, that's not admissible, because she's already accepted their stipulation. It's a formal agreement. She's already accepted their stipulation, so she can't control how defense brings it in. She can't control if defense brings it in, but she can control how they bring it in, is probably more to the point. So certainly not the whole interview. So that's that for a summary. What's the next summary? That's the defense plan. HIPAA. We did all that. I had to double check what UTC stands for. I thought it was Universal Time. Coordinated Universal Time. But I had to actually double check, because when you're in the computing industry, absolutely everything's a freaking acronym. And it's hard to remember what all the acronyms are. So, not your ass with a Johnny. Right. I wish they, hang on, I'll read these again. Stop it. I'm going now. His ass was up at 5 a.m. I wish they would do some multi-lawyer streams, and then you get another level of legal. Yeah, like they did with Deputy Heard. They did some multi-lawyer streams for that, and it was fun. It was fun to see them working together. The vitriol that Peggy oozed will cause the jury to ask questions. If they get the real answers, it will bite them in the ass like a rhubarb. True. I'm glad they didn't cross Peggy. In fact, I thought what they did with Peggy was absolutely appropriate, classy, and well played. Well played. Because when I saw Jackson come out swinging from opening statements straight into Nuttall, I thought, oh shit, Peggy's going to get shredded. But then they pulled out the class, and I was like, yes. So they can do it, but they're keeping it classy. So I like that. I don't know. Peg's doing a full acting job, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to diss a woman. Like, it's terrible what they're doing to her. The fact that these evil people have manipulated her, it's awful what they've done to her. But I don't necessarily... how do I explain it? She's bringing it on herself. So I'm not necessarily too sympathetic of people who put themselves in these situations out of hatred. Well, let's say it that way. So if you don't hate the person, but you're getting sucked in and along with this ride, that's another thing. And that I have every bit of sympathy for, but she's not that person. So interesting. I don't understand why there's not 1,000 people. Because they're all exhausted, Norman. Everyone's exhausted from the trial. So I get the people who still have a bit of energy left after the trial, which is very few. So that's what Mike Shute said about Ali. She brought it on herself. Hey, Sparkle. Thanks for joining us. All right, so continuing through my notes, the implication of judge allowing the clips, Sixth Amendment, prosecution testifying through the defendant, denial of due process and prejudicing the jury. We know those are all appealable. We've got... what else is in my notes? They're either trying to force her to testify, which I think Paul and Peggy would love to have her testify and to be able to humiliate her on the stand. I think that's one possible thing they're trying to do. Or the other possible thing they're trying to do is just like testify through her, which the judge shouldn't be allowing. So that's that summary. Oh, the police dash cam. So Trooper Guarino, he's not the one doing this. All right, let me share this screen. This has been brought into evidence, but we don't have verification of its authenticity through anybody. It's just like no cop, no one's come on. They're just like, do you recognize this? Yeah, that's dash cam. But here's the problem that I got with it. Dash cam does not have closed captions. Right? Those are closed captions. That's not a timestamp. That's the mic, sound, music, when there's noises going on in the background. That's closed captions. Dashcam doesn't have closed caption, nor is it clipped like this. See how it's clipped into this like tiny little strip? Dashcam is not clipped like this. So that is not original footage, period, full stop. And then I've also got from trial 1.0. So here, see how it's clipped down into this little bit? Now, I didn't notice it then because I thought they were trying to do it so they could fit two on the screen at once. But then I realized that none of this footage had been authenticated. And then I realized they're doing in trial 2.0 just that footage all cropped down like that. These are edited. So this one doesn't have subtitles, nor does this one. It has no subtitles down the bottom. This one is one that the defense was given. No, sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. Sorry, this one over here. So see how they've got their timestamp up the top and location on there? But the one that the defense was given, which is when she starts getting crossed. This has got no timestamps on it, and the point being, you would have heard Brennan say that, oh, there was no timestamps on there. See, that's because you gave it to them with no timestamps on it. So I got issues with all of this. Microdots did a good job at clearing up the audio. Yes, he did, and he snipped it out for us today, just that bit. Karen tape, but he's cleaned up all his audios. New order for production of records. Are you serious? No. Where'd you send that? Oh, here. Gotcha. Production of fucking what? They've produced everything. Oh my god. Are you fucking serious? These people are impossible. All right, let's get this up. I'm so frustrated. Lucky we called it event stream. So it says the court hereby orders. The court is ordering Daniel Wolf and Andrew Ranchler to produce the following: all records within ARCCA's or its owners, partners, employees, or representatives' possession. Owners, partners, employees, or representatives' possession, custody, or control in whatever format capped that reflect or in any way relate to work performed or contemplated and in related in any way to billing, payment, compensation, or reimbursement of any kind in connection with Karen Reed. Right. Not the fucking testing that the government hired them for. Billing, payment, compensation, and or reimbursement. They've already produced those records. This order includes, by way of example, but not limitation, all correspondence by regular mail, email, text messages, and or encoded messages. This is work product, Bev, between the above entities and individuals and third parties. The order also includes all records and or drafts, reports, as well as reports and or drafts. They're trying to get the fucking DOJ's work product as well as all test results, photographs, video or recordings, charts, graphs, calculations, and recorded observations of all tests or experiments undertaken. You can't have it, Bev. The DOJ said you can't have it all. Whether the results were included in a report or not, and all internal memoranda and phone records related to communication about work performed on the case. The order also includes all records related to time spent on the case, including timesheets and draft and final bills, to the extent that any record responsive to this order is kept in an electronic format. The ARCCA witnesses shall bring with them the appropriate hardware equipped with the appropriate software to allow the court access to all such records at the voir dire hearing. Wow, hey? Wow. I don't think they have to actually comply with that. Like, she has made a court order, but her court order doesn't have standing because it's work product that she's asking for. I don't know how you deal with that. How do they deal with it? Let me find out. Let's do a let's do a search. All right, let's find out. Does ARCCA have to comply with Canoni's order? Work product is generally protected from disclosure. ARCCA's work product, including communications, analysis, and notes, cannot be ordered to be disclosed unless the prosecution shows a compelling need for that specific material. The work product doctrine is designed to protect expert work product from being disclosed. unless the prosecution can prove that there is a substantial need. She didn't even write the need for it. She just said, you are hereby ordered. The standard for overcoming work product protection. Forcing ARCCA, again my tongue tied here, to disclose work product would require the prosecution to meet a high legal standard. They would need to prove that the work product is essential. The prosecution cannot obtain similar information by other means. Yeah, you can't just have dirt on the defense. Judge Kanani must be convinced. Obviously she is, or she wouldn't be fucking writing it, right? She says she hasn't met the standard. Judge Kanani has not met the standard. So ARCCA can assert the work product doctrine as a defense to resist disclosing their materials. Cool. They've got the right to resist. If ARCCA is asked to produce documents or communications that are clearly work product, they can argue that the documents are protected under the doctrine and that the defense team has the right to keep those materials confidential. ARCCA could also argue that the protection applies to communications between the defense and the expert witnesses. If ARCCA refuses to comply with Judge Kanani's order, the prosecution could seek enforcement through contempt of court. However, ARCCA's refusal to turn over protected work product could be a valid legal claim. The judge may ultimately need to make a determination as to whether the prosecution has shown sufficient grounds to overcome the work product protection. She hasn't even mentioned that yet. Ultimately, it's Judge Coyote's call, even if ARCCA refuses to. But they're not required to comply with an order to produce work product unless the prosecution can show a compelling need for those materials. And then if they refuse, they can actually make an agreement for in-camera review by the judge so that it's not put into filings and made public. So if the judge actually does shit that's that violates ARCCA's rights, the defense can seek a higher court intervention to protect ARCCA's work product and ensure fairness of the trial. So there you go. There is a avenue. Whether they want to do it or not is another thing. But can you see what she's doing here? She is pushing for the feds to intervene. She's pushing for it because at this point they're going to have no choice. Because what Bev's trying to get out of them, the DOJ has said, no, we're not going to let you have it. What Brennan is saying, which is stupid, is defense and ARCCA are colluding with federal government to show corruption. Erin, the reason it's stupid is because the DOJ is the judge and Morrissey's oversight body. They're colluding with our oversight body. The checks and balances, how the law works. They're colluding with our bosses is basically what they're saying. So it's pretty dumb. But I think what Bev's doing here is going to force the DOJ to intervene. I think she's overplaying her hand, to be honest. She has no power over the DOJ. If the DOJ says this stuff's not going anywhere, you can see, whatever you're ordering to see between these defense team and these guys in relation to that specific part of when they testified, but you're not getting nothing else. She cannot order the DOJ to do that. So Maybe now the feds come out. She's forcing them to. I can't see how she's going to get what she wants from ARCCA. I don't know, maybe the feds will still try and keep this under wraps for a bit longer. And, let ARCCA come to some sort of agreement with the judge. Well, we'll show you this XYZ, but we're not showing you blah, blah, blah. Maybe they'll come to some sort of agreement in that way. So that's right, Tess. They can't be colluding if they were all offered the same thing. Well, you can't collude with the federal authorities because it's like the federal authorities send out a subpoena. You got to do as you're fucking told. It's not like you can collude with them. And if you give them information, if they say to you, you've got to give us XYZ information and Z is something that you did wrong, they're going to hold that against you as well. They're not taking sides here. So, yeah, those videos are totally manipulated. There's shit all over the place with that. Man, if Josh Levy was here, he'd have said a lot more. Like, not just come out and gone, oh, here's what we're doing and, give us everything we want. He just would have been the one signing on the dotted line, Bev, shut the fuck up. You're not getting it. That's what Josh Levy would have been doing. So, yeah, I think it's time for ARCCA to break out their attorneys. I think it is time. I think what Bev's doing is going to force them to be honest. So, because they have rights, they don't have to produce work product. She can be upset about the work product all she wants, but the whole reason that she's punishing the defense is because she originally ordered them to come in early and testified and multiplied their costs. If they just had to come in and do their 1 hour testimony each, then it wouldn't have multiplied their costs, like blown it out so big. It was the judge trying to punish the defense because DOJ wouldn't give them any more information, which is not in their control. She's punishing the defense for something that's not in their control. It all started with a fucking due process violation by the judge. Then she punished them for not being able to produce it. That was the due process violation. Then she dragged ARCCA halfway across the country a day early to voir dire them so that the Commonwealth got to depose them before they testified. That punished the ARCCA people. Now she's punishing the defense for responding and paying the bill that they had to get the ARCCA people here for her fucking voir dire in the first place, which was a due process violation. If you follow what I'm saying. This all started with her due process violation back in trial 1.0. And she's just continuing it on, and she's harassing the ARCCA witnesses by doing this multiple times. So there's a certain amount of double jeopardy that applies to witnesses. It's not in the classic sense of you can't be tried twice. It's in a non-classic sense that your witnesses cannot be harassed and punished because they're not saying what you want them to say. So it starts with harassment of the witnesses. So the first voir dire put the ARCCA witnesses out. The second voir dire is harassment. And it all stems from Bev's original due process violation, punishing the defense for material they couldn't produce because the DOJ said no. I don't think they will decline the case. I don't think they will. I think they're invested in an innocent woman going to jail for something she didn't do. I think they actually are. I think the DOJ, originally, the DOJ and the ARCCA witnesses were absolutely invested in, we cannot, in good faith, let this go to trial. I think they're invested. Oh my God, that was a big one, right? She admitted today to lying to the feds. You think they weren't listening to that? She's certainly playing with fire. Bev's playing with fire. Yeah, ARCCA seems classy. They'll lure her up. You watch. Give me 1 sec. Oh my god, it's so hard to sneeze right now. I have a I fell off the daybed the other day. I was sitting out in the sunroom and I went to get up and I spun around weird and hurt my leg. But after a bit I was okay. I thought, oh well, did happens. I'm good. We're walking. Everything's cool. Next day, not cool. 2 days later, still not cool. Getting worse. So I've been sitting here with a massager and my hip is so sore. So when I sneeze, it's hurting my leg. I know they're not connected, and I don't know why it's doing that, but they're somehow connected. Anyway, I did have to sneeze. Now I need some coffee. Right, they can't just return exactly. I don't think they can. I don't think they can. I don't think they will. All right, first of all, can they? Probably. Will they? Probably not. Let's say it that way. It is enraging. It is annoying. So if ARCCA are removed, no, and see Bev's stuck, she can't remove them. She absolutely can't remove them. That's why she's playing this out. She's playing the long game with it. She absolutely can't remove them because that's a due process violation. She cannot moving the defendant, removing the defendant's expert is up there in due process violation as high as removing her freaking lawyers. Okay, it's not as high, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's up there, okay? It's up in the top 5 you don't do's as a judge. So I don't think she can. She's just playing it right out to the last minute to give the prosecution another stab at deposing them. Oh my god, I wish I could take a hot bath right now. I can't. My bathtub's blown a bloody poopy valve, but it will be repaired soon. But I wish I could. I imagine the ARCCA lawyers have been watching this closely for some time already. I would hope so, Book Hermit. I really would hope so. Like she has put them through. It is harassment at this stage. What Bev's doing is harassment. It's judicial harassment. It's not even the prosecution harassing them. It's her. So I second the Epsom salts. Oh my god. I wish I could. I do. Best I got is painkillers and a massager. It'll go away eventually. Obviously, I've pinched a nerve somewhere. No idea. Brendan should just try his cat. I know he should just stop crying like a freaking like he needs a ambulance, right? I completely agree with you. Okay, Bo girl. Yes, pretty sure Bev's trying to fix it, but I think the point here is she can't stop them from testifying. So they're out for blood. If the ARCCA's going to testify, they want the DOJ records. Babe's ass is on the line. Morrissey's ass is on the line. If they've got a cave to ARCCA, and it's because the feds put that original TUI disclosure in, they want the rest of the TUI disclosure. That's what they're after. End game. Bev and Morrissey want to know how far their asses are on the line. It is witness harassment. Absolutely, it's harassment. So there's a double jeopardy clause that applies to witnesses. And at the point that you're harassing them, that's when it kicks in. That's when you are breaching the double jeopardy clause there. um, Dude, I think you're probably right about Bev just playing this out for the benefit of the prosecution. I missed that angle, so good, they won't be eliminated. No, I don't think they will. But I think Bev's got a vested interest in finding out what the feds know, because she's on the hook. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind whatsoever Bev's on the hook here, where the feds are concerned, because of Morrissey's emails, because Bettero discovered that Morrissey makes burner accounts to contact judges and interfere with their judicial independence. Bev can't prove anything. No, she can't. She's proved nothing. None of it she has proved. Going back to, oh my God, you what? You paid them to testify when I forced them all to come in a day early to do voir dire. Oh my God. No, she's got no evidence. Even that is not evidence. That is them doing what she forced them to do. Yeah, the anti-Karen Reid people are harassing ARCCA, correct? I thought AJ was a legend when he went up to argue his objection to the second clip, but when the judge said they were doing the first clip first, he just went, oh, the first clip, yeah, I don't care. Right. There's only one clip I think they're worried about them playing out of context. Right, they're smearing a company's professional integrity, not just these two guys who testified for the defense, the entire company. And what is that company? It's a multi-million-dollar fucking contract company to the government and the military. Like, who do they think they're fucking with here? They're fucking with the wrong people. Right, do it. Fuck with them some more and see what happens to you. It's a big company. They're not a small company. They're a multi-million-dollar contract company with multi different. It's not just military. It's like Secret Service, military, and fucking like NASA, and like 50 levels of fucking government. Like, who are they fucking with here? Does Morrissey really think he's that powerful that he's gonna fuck all of these different levels of government? Like, they're playing with fire. He is a whiny little wah, but here's the thing: he's not doing shit out of the blue. Like, this isn't all happening in a void. Brennan's not just coming up with shit. This is Morrissey. We all know Morrissey's driving this bus, right? And Brennan's just doing what he's told. We're all on the same page here, aren't we? Brennan's actually Morrissey's mouthpiece. So who's the whiny bitch? It's Morrissey. Morrissey's a whiny bitch. Brennan's just his mouthpiece. Same with Lally. You know, I found it really hard to hold much against Lally other than he was just a pathetic human being. Same with Brennan. Because they're not driving this bus. They're doing as they're told. Who's at the wheel? White-knuckled, stressing about what the feds know? That's not Brennan. That's not Lally. That's fucking Morrissey. He's the one driving this bus. So I know it's easy to hate Brennan because he's the face of Morrissey right now. But for me, this just makes me more and more mad at Morrissey. But yes, Brennan's a whiny little bitch. Only because Morrissey's making him. I bet you if you didn't have Morrissey making him whine like a little bitch, he's probably actually not a bad lawyer, like a formidable opponent. I'll bet you he's quite formidable without the whiny fucking, I need my binky fucking Morrissey behind him. So I heard about this. That brings me to another note that I had. Bev not pulling that into line. So she pulls Paul O'Keefe into line for shooting dirty looks at Aiden, but she's not pulling him into line for doing it to Karen and mouthing threats to Karen in front of the jury. And that is actually a violation of Karen's rights. And jury, what is it? It's bad. It's all bad. Prejudicing the jury is what I was trying to think of. So, exactly. Brennan is a defense dude, right? It's a lot of show, right? But all the whining is Morrissey. Like I can just see big fat Morrissey standing there doing all the whining that Brennan's like. I can just picture it that it's Morrissey doing it. Like that half the shit that Brennan comes out with isn't his choice. Like not his choice how he'd argue it, not his choice how he'd go about it, not his choice. None of that. I feel like this is just where if you can imagine Jabba the Hutt standing in that place, just superimpose Jabba the Hutt over Brennan, then you're getting a better idea of what's going on there. No, they haven't. They're allowed to harass those witnesses, apparently. Another biased Bev fucking. Like, there's so much that Bev has got wrong. Before this trial even started, Bev got so much wrong. There's no way anything that happens from this point, Karen Reid's going to jail. There's no way. It's standing. Everything gets overturned. Because before this trial even started, before the harassment of the ARCCA witnesses by Bev, before her trying to get their work product material by punishing them for fucking her own shit that she pulled last year, before any of that, she was already on the fucking ropes as far as anything holding up, any conviction holding up. So this is something I've been trying to remind people. This trial is just the start. Like the last trial, that was the beginning. This trial is the start. The end game isn't this trial. This is not the end game. Not for this team that's involved. The end game is justice for John. And if Karen ends up getting convicted, everything gets overturned. There's that part of the process. The end game, you heard it from Karen's own mouth the other night. She was on Will the Glarus channel. You heard it from her own mouth. This isn't about her going to jail. This is about justice for John. She's not going to stop till she gets it. So Brennan has said multiple times he doesn't want to get rid of ARCCA, meaning the state wants ARCCA. Really? You believe anything Brennan says? Nobody believes Brennan doesn't want to get rid of ARCCA, all right? Nobody believes that. Lully gave her a way fairer trial. I kind of feel like he didn't want it. Said, fine, I'll present the facts and whatever happens, happens. And shockingly, he got there. I feel like, no, I don't feel like Lully gave her a fairer trial. I don't feel any of this is fair. She should never have been charged to start with. None of this was fair. A trial where one lawyer is defending the criminally accused and the other lawyer is defending the actual criminals. So Brennan was clearly hired in his capacity as a slimy defense attorney. True. Because Meatball Morrissey's a mob boss. Everyone knows it. The locals know it. He's a mob boss. He's got the Irish descent from the original Irish mob that ran the place. He's pretty much the mob boss. I don't think she's going to shut this down soonish. I think by putting on a fair trial actually gave the jury room to say, fine, they're being upfront, went to data and the defense and the burden shifted. And the defense burden shifted. Not sure I follow you, but I get I get what's going on here. You've got a limited text buffer to write your thought. I have this problem all the time. So, what do you think about Proctor and Bukaki saying in first trial that they saw Karen Reid enter her passcode in the first trial? Could they have extracted the phone before July? Absolutely, they extracted the phone before July. And absolutely, they got the password off her first trial. The first day, he was looking for nudes. So, we don't have to imagine Jabber as Michael Morrissey. It's a fact. I actually have him as water noose. Have you seen my water noose? Let me find your water noose. Water news. I'll get it up on the screen for you. Where are we? Here. Look at that. And I used some of the soundtrack of his hostage video.
This will be the first statement of its kind in my dozen years as Norfolk.
Where's that going? Oh, hang on. I'm like, why can't I hear that? You guys can hear it, right? It's only me who can't hear it because I didn't have my headphones on. Okay, ready?
This will be the first statement of its kind in my dozen years as Norfolk District Attorney. The harassment of witnesses in the murder prosecution of Karen Reid is absolutely baseless. It should be an outrage to any decent person, and it needs to stop. We try people in the court and not on the internet for a reason. The internet has no rules of evidence. The internet has no punishment for perjury. And the internet does not know all the facts. What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Could you hear it? That's right, without a lawyer. They extracted TB's phone before they said. Exactly. Anyway, I thought you might enjoy that. Give me 1 sec. All right, I'm back. So, do you like my water noose? Kind of suits Morrissey, right? And it needs to stop. All right, so we flogged everything to death, have we? Are we done? We're done with our vent session today. I wonder if tomorrow is going to be a vent session. Are we going to have a ventilator tomorrow? We've got, so it's Thursday here. So you guys are on Wednesday, Thursday, and a half day Friday. So we've got one more vent tomorrow. And then, because it's only a half day Friday, I know we'll see how we go. I might do a vent Friday or over the weekend. Good afternoon from sunny Buffalo. Good afternoon, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us right at the end of our stream. So, guys, I've been so good. Yesterday's vent was only 2 hours. Today's vent is just 2 hours. We're going to leave it at that. I was waiting for Arcane to join us because I thought we'd have some more information from him about, the EMT side of things. And I did let him know that we were doing a live and this, just come along and I'll drop the link for you. But he hasn't showed up. So maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Might have to fast forward till tomorrow. But I'll let you know when I post it. I will put in the description who's going to be joining me, or in the title, if someone's joining me. So it's just hay fever, Donna. It's good. It's just all snotty in the head from hay fever and itchy throat, and that's why I'm doing that all the time. I hope the trees where I'm moving to, so I hope my new property, I hope the trees don't flower like this and drive me nuts every season. That would be really good. So, hey, Paul says, Garino said on the stand they had to brute force a phone because he didn't have passcode and had to wait for new software. This is what I expect to happen. Every single witness is going to change their story from the last time. They don't fucking care. They're going to change their story because Brennan's got a new timeline and a new story. So whatever Brennan says they got to do, they're doing it. And that's what's going to happen. So we saw Nuttall change his story. We saw Kerry change her story. People are going, oh, Kerry's pretty consistent. I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit, she's consistent. She got busted lying to the feds. That's not consistent. Everyone changed their story from the grand jury to the federal grand jury to trial 1.0. So why are we expecting they're going to tell the same story in trial 2.0? They all have changed their stories 3 times now. So I don't know why we're expecting the same story from the same people. What we can expect is every single one of them are going to change their stories. So now that Garino has said that, we'll now get Proctor saying something different. We'll now get Buchanan saying something different. Everyone's going to say different shit than what they said last time because they said different shit from the grand jury to the federal grand jury to trial 1.0. Obviously, they're going to do it again. So this is what happens when you don't hold people accountable. And I think last trial, defense let them get away with heaps. Like, I can't say it's defense, but Bev let them get away with heaps. Defense did what they could, I guess. The defense tried them like they were prosecuting them. So I'll give them that much. But at the same time, yeah. Bev's not making anybody pay for what they're doing. So obviously they're all going to lie again, and obviously they're all going to get away with it again. And that's why they can lie again, because they can get away with it. But let's not pretend that these are all honest people and they're all going to tell the truth at number 4 trial when they haven't told the truth at 1, 2, 3 trials already. So if the feds want to throw her in jail, they can. I don't think they will, but this is why everyone's getting away with it. Anyway, let's be real. These people are all going to lie through their teeth again. Yes, Kevin, thank you also. Supermod. Massive thank you to everyone who joined us tonight, today, this morning. Wherever you are, stay safe and keep a country. Thank you, Kev. And thank you, Michelle, for your service today. This is my super mods. All right, everybody. Time out. We shall see you tomorrow for another rant session. Bye.